Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're returning to one of the most celebrated and most passionately followed watch brands in the world, Seiko. Few manufacturers in the history of horology have managed to sustain the kind of devoted, multi-generational following that Seiko commands. And the reason is simple. Decade after decade, reference after reference, Seiko continues to produce watches of genuine character, genuine quality, and genuine soul at prices that treat the collector with respect. Today's list spans divers, dress watches, chronographs, field watches, and everything in between. 10 references that together paint the fullest possible picture of why Seiko remains, for so many collectors, the brand they return to again and again. Let's get into it. Number 10. Seiko Prospex 1965 Heritage Diver SPB451. The Seiko Prospex 1965 Heritage Diver SPB451 is a watch that understands its own history deeply enough to honor it without simply repeating it. The 1965 professional diver was a landmark moment, Japan's first domestically produced professional dive watch, engineered for real underwater work at a time when the dive watch category was still defining what it needed to be. The SPB451 takes that foundation and rebuilds it with everything Seiko has learned in the 6 decades since. A superbly finished stainless steel case in the distinctive cushion-adjacent proportions of the original, a textured dial that rewards close inspection, and the caliber 6R35 automatic movement delivering an outstanding 70-hour power reserve behind 200 meters of water resistance. The applied indices with their generous lume fill read effortlessly in any light, and the domed crystal adds a vintage character that modern flat sapphire simply cannot replicate. This is Seiko at its most historically self-aware. And the result is magnificent. The Seiko Prospex 1965 Heritage Diver SPB451 retails for approximately $800 USD. Number 9. King Seiko KSK SJE113. The King Seiko KSK SJE113 is the revival that the collecting community had waited years to see done properly, and Seiko delivered it with a faithfulness to the original that immediately silenced any doubt. The King Seiko name carries enormous weight in horological history. During the 1960s precision watch competitions, King Seiko and Grand Seiko were internal rivals within the same company, each pushing the other to extraordinary standards of accuracy, and finishing that placed Japanese watchmaking firmly on the world stage. The SJE113 honors the KSK reference, one of the most celebrated designs to emerge from that era, with a slim, architecturally precise case whose Zaratsu-polished flanks and brushed dial-side surfaces demonstrate a finishing standard that has no business existing at this price. The silver dial with its applied faceted indices catches light with a clarity that draws the eye immediately, and the caliber 6L35 developed specifically for the King Seiko revival beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour with a 72-hour power reserve. Wearing the SJE113 is wearing a philosophy. The philosophy that precision and beauty are not competing ambitions, but the same ambition expressed differently. The King Seiko KSK SJE113 retails for approximately $1,500 USD. Number 8. Seiko Presage Sharp Edged SRPF03. The Seiko Presage Sharp Edged SRPF03 is a watch built around a single, uncompromising design idea, that every line, every surface, every transition between planes should be executed with the geometric precision of a master craftsman's blade, and it delivers on that idea with a conviction that makes it one of the most visually distinctive dress watches in Seiko's entire modern catalog. The blue dial, inspired by the faceted surfaces of traditional Japanese cut glass, creates a prismatic effect that shifts with every movement of the wrist. Deep navy in shadow, brilliant cobalt in direct light, and every tone between depending on the angle. The applied indices are sharp-edged architectural forms rather than conventional batons or numerals, and the hands are finished to a standard that rivals watches at several times the price. The caliber 4R35 inside provides reliable, everyday automatic performance, and the slim, elegantly proportioned case wears with a formality that suits business and occasion dressing with equal confidence. The SRPF03 is a watch that makes other dress watches at this price look underdressed. The Seiko Presage Sharp Edged SRPF03 retails for approximately $450 USD. Number 7. Seiko Prospex Speedtimer Pogue SSK005. The Seiko Prospex Speedtimer SSK005, known universally among collectors as the Pogue, carries one of the most extraordinary origin stories in all of watch collecting, and it wears that story with a yellow dial so bold, so unashamedly distinctive, that it has become one of the most recognizable references Seiko has ever produced. The original Pogue story begins in 1973, when NASA astronaut William Pogue wore a Seiko 6-139, the world's first automatic chronograph, aboard Skylab, smuggled aboard in violation of NASA's approved equipment list because he simply preferred it. That yellow dial, glimpsed in photographs from humanity's frontier, elevated the 6139 to legend. The SSK005 honors that legacy with a solar-powered chronograph movement, appropriately space-age technology for a watch with a space-age story, delivering reliable, battery-free performance inside a case that updates the original's proportions for the modern wrist without losing its essential character. The yellow dial remains as confident and as conversation-starting as it ever was. The Seiko Prospex Speedtimer SSK013 retails for approximately $550 USD. Number 6. Seiko 5 Sports GMT SSK005. The Seiko 5 Sports GMT SSK005 is the reference that answered a question collectors had been asking for years. When would Seiko bring genuine GMT functionality to the 5 Sports platform at a price that matched the collection's democratic, accessible philosophy? When the SSK005 arrived, the answer proved to be worth the wait. This is a proper GMT implementation, a genuine fourth hand independently adjustable from the local hour hand, allowing the wearer to track a second time zone with the kind of intuitive, practical ease that far more expensive traveler's watches promise. The orange dial and bezel configuration of the SSK005 is the variant that captured the most attention, a color combination of real verve and personality that photographs vibrantly and wears even better in person. The caliber 4R34 automatic inside provides solid daily performance, and the stainless steel case and bracelet are finished to a standard that makes the price feel almost unreasonably fair. The SSK005 is GMT ownership made genuinely attainable. The Seiko 5 Sports GMT SSK005 retails for approximately $380 USD. Number 5. Seiko Alpinist SPB121. The Seiko Alpinist SPB121 is the reference that introduced the modern collecting generation to one of Seiko's most fiercely beloved and most enduringly distinctive design traditions, and it did so with enough quality and enough character to justify every word of the legend that preceded it. The green sunburst dial of the SPB121 is a thing of genuine beauty, deep and layered in shadow, brilliant and alive in direct light, shifting between forest green and jewel-like emerald depending on the hour and the weather. The signature crown at 4 o'clock and the internal rotating compass bezel are the Alpinist's defining details, functional eccentricities that are inseparable from the watch's personality and impossible to imagine removing without destroying the design entirely. The caliber 6R35 inside delivers a 70-hour power reserve, and the 200 meters of water resistance ensures this mountain watch can handle whatever conditions the mountain provides. The sapphire crystal adds a premium touch that every Alpinist owner appreciates the first time a rock face introduces itself to their wrist. The Seiko Alpinist SPB121 retails for approximately $525 USD. Number 4. Seiko Prospex Turtle SRP777. The Seiko Prospex Turtle SRP777 is a watch that wears its nickname with enormous pride, because the broad cushion-shaped case that inspired it is not a compromise or an accident, but a deliberate design statement that has been delighting collectors since the 1970s. The original 6309 Turtle of that era was a workhorse dive watch of extraordinary popularity among recreational and professional divers alike, and the SRP777 modernizes that heritage with a faithfulness that devotees of the original can appreciate without reservation. The black dial with its bold, heavily loomed indices delivers genuine dive watch legibility, the unidirectional bezel clicks with satisfying precision, and the 200 meters of water resistance backs up every visual promise the design makes. The caliber 4R36 inside provides day and date display alongside reliable automatic performance. The SRP777 is a watch that rewards everyone who wears it, collectors who understand its history and newcomers who simply find themselves drawn to something that looks unmistakably, uniquely right. The Seiko Prospex Turtle SRP777 retails for approximately $325 USD. Number 3. Seiko Presage Cocktail Time SRPB43. The Seiko Presage Cocktail Time SRPB43 is the watch that stops people mid-sentence, because the moment they notice that dial, every other conversation in the room becomes temporarily irrelevant. The Cocktail Time collection draws its inspiration from the craft, the atmosphere, and the visual drama of the Japanese cocktail bar at its most refined, and the SRPB43 captures that inspiration in a warm, amber-toned dial of extraordinary depth and complexity. The layered lacquer surface shifts between rose gold, champagne, and deep copper depending on the light source and the angle, creating a living, breathing dial that changes character from morning to midnight. The applied indices and hands are polished to a standard that produces crisp, mirror-bright reflections against the warm backdrop of the dial, a visual contrast of exceptional sophistication. The slim case and Jubilee-style bracelet give it an elegance that makes it as appropriate for a formal dinner as for a Friday evening cocktail. The SRPB43 is the watch that proves Seiko understands beauty as fluently as it understands engineering. The Seiko Presage Cocktail Time SRPB43 retails for approximately $400 USD. Number 2. Seiko 5 Sports SRPD51. The Seiko 5 Sports SRPD51 is the watch the entire collecting community seems to agree on, regardless of budget, regardless of preference, regardless of how deep the rabbit hole goes. There is something almost uncanny about how completely and how consistently the SRPD51 satisfies every person who puts one on their wrist. The proportions feel right, the weight feels right, the dial feels right, and the price feels so dramatically right that first-time buyers frequently assume they have misread it. The blue textured dial, the alternating brushed and polished case and bracelet surfaces, the exhibition case back, the day-date display, the 100 meters of water resistance. None of these features is individually extraordinary at the price. Together they constitute a package of such completeness and such coherence that the SRPD51 has become the benchmark against which every other entry-level automatic is quietly, inevitably compared. This is the watch that starts collections, that rekindles enthusiasm in collectors who thought they had seen everything, and that sits on more wrists around the world than almost any other mechanical watch currently in production. There is a reason for that. The Seiko 5 Sports SRPD51 retails for approximately $250 USD. Number 1. Seiko Prospex Samurai SRPE93. The Seiko Prospex Samurai SRPE93 takes the top spot, and to anyone who has spent time with one on their wrist, no explanation is required. The Samurai is one of those rare watches that arrives at a design so distinctive, so self-assured, and so perfectly resolved that the collecting community adopts it immediately, names it immediately, and defends it with a loyalty that other references at 10 times the price struggle to inspire. The angular case lines that earned it the Samurai name are not aggressive for the sake of aggression. They are the natural, inevitable result of a design philosophy that refuses to make a single apologetic curve. The teal dial of the SRPE93 is among the most compelling color treatments in the entire Seiko range, a blue-green of such depth and such shifting character that it reads differently in every environment, from deep aquatic blue under artificial light to a vivid, almost tropical teal in bright daylight. The caliber 4R35 inside provides day-date display and proven automatic reliability, and the 200 meters of water resistance means the Samurai is as serious a dive watch as its posture implies. What makes the SRPE93 the number 1 on today's list is not any single specification or any single design detail. It is the totality of the experience, the sense of wearing something with genuine personality and genuine presence at a price that simply has no right to produce a watch this compelling. The Seiko Prospex Samurai SRPE93 retails for approximately $390 USD, and it is, without question, one of the greatest watches ever made for the money.